All right, guys, good morning. Liquidation Friday. Strategic Crypto Reserve 5. Leverage trading. Good morning. Good morning. We're here Friday. It has been a brutal week in crypto, and it continues as we're going to call this today Liquidation Friday. Hope you tuned into the stream yesterday. We talked about that one trade yesterday, and we freaking hit it out of the freaking park like World freaking Series baseball. Okay, because we got that sell down in at 110,000 at 10x, and we rode that sell down $7,000 to the $103,000 level. Okay, everyone who participated in that trade, thank you very much. We did that. We talked about that yesterday in the live stream. So always kind of like start to tune in on these lives a little bit if you can, and then we'll cover up on Substack. I'll put the Substack in the description for everybody who can subscribe to the newsletter on Substack. It's free. Also, hit that QR code link, 5-Bit Trading Exchange. That's the exchange that we trade on, that we leverage trade on. Some of y'all may be familiar with the old Bit7 exchange. Quite a few of the same peeps. Really the same ease of execution. Why we love 5-Bit. And you can use that QR code and you can get logged on to 5-Bit. And obviously, we are seeing these liquidations roll. Okay. But let's take a look at some of these. Before we get into the news, let's just take a look at where we're at with some of these, with some of the cryptocurrencies. Okay. Aave down 14%, Cardano down 8%, Algorand 10%, ApeCoin 8%, Avalanche 10% again. Avalanche continues to fall below $20. Axie Infinity 8%, Bitcoin Cash 11%. Bitcoin is down 4.96%. It's kind of off some of it. Got down to about 103,700, I think. It's now at 105, so it's coming back a little bit. Compound down 7%. Polkadot 8.5%. Ethereum is down 6.5%. Injective 10.76%. Jupiter down 10%. Chainlink down 10%. It's just across the board. Uniswap 7%. Sui 10%. Solana 8%. So it's just right now Ripple is down 6.8%. It is a little bit of crazy. And it's a continuation. It's basically a negative continuation pattern that we're hearing and watching. And in terms of Bitcoin, what you're looking at here, take it again. You can use this 5-Bit exchange. I'm going to take this away. I'll bring it back up later if someone wants to see it. It needs that QR code to take you right to the 5-Bit trading exchange for the community, and you can get on there. We're on the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin, and it's not pretty, guys. So a lot of people are going to be talking about what's going on. And the reality of it is you're watching a market deleverage and resetting is what's happening in the entire crypto market. And also, if you look at the broader indexes, if you look at the broader stock markets, all that stuff's feeling the same kind of pain. But right now we're trading at 105,510. We are below that 100,008 level. Remember, we were talking about making that trade yesterday from 110 to 108. Okay, and if we broke that 108 level, there was a 65-70% chance we were going to test 100,000. Now we didn't. Okay, the low was 100 on the 5-Bit exchange. Now it could be different on the exchanges that you're on. Okay, but on the 5-Bit exchange, the low was 103,553. Okay, we actually exited that 110,000 sell down trade a little bit north of there, just under 104,000. It was 103,878, I believe. And that was down from a sell down, okay, from 110,000. Remember, why did we look at that trade? Is because we saw the support in that range at 110, okay? And we knew that if we broke that support level, she was likely going to test 108,000. So when she broke that level and she stayed at that level below 100, right around 110. We had that battle at 110 that lasted for about 2 hours yesterday. We were on probably for about an hour and 50 minutes, I think, on the live stream. And that's it, man. I mean, that one trade, this is how you can actually, boom, boom, on your phone. Do your 10x, your 5x trade, 110 sell down. Okay. It broke through its support level. It's going to fall. Then you can put your limit order in as to when to sell and get out of your trade. At least on 5bit, you folks that are on Binance that are overseas, get off that exchange. Speaking of Binance, they're getting BNB. They're getting Binance, the old Binance coin. They're getting shelled. Okay. Not only because of that from a reputation standpoint, but it's down over 10%. So we look at BNB, Solana, Cardano record double-digit losses this morning as all these liquidations basically serve. The total cryptocurrency market liquidations have crossed 1 billion, okay, in the last 24 hours. So remember, we had 19 billion liquidated last Friday. Okay, remember, it's not all liquid cash. We talked about that yesterday. It's all leveraged. Okay, so it's not all like 19 billion in liquid cash in the market got dissipated. It was probably more like 4 billion, 3 billion. Okay, like in reality, because depending on what the leverage looked, could be 10 billion, depending on what the leverage were. We knew it was 9 times the previous record high. Okay, so there's a lot of money in this market. Okay, and that's what we've been talking about for 2 years in the community. Okay, is institutions now move the needle, not us. 2015 to 17, we were moving the needle. Individual crypto traders in all the chat rooms and the discords and all that, we were moving Bitcoin. Okay, the pumps, the dumps, the FUDs, the FOMO, it was us. Okay, it's not us anymore. Okay, it is large institutions to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars that are accumulating. You see this stuff on all the other channels, the commentary channels that basically just give you the new, whatever. Always talking about Grayscale, always talking about BlackRock, always talking about, everybody, the ETFs, the institutions that are buying up the supply of Bitcoin. Okay. The net effect of that over a longer period of time is Bitcoin's going higher. None of this changes anything. Bitcoin's still going to 150,000. Okay. I didn't think it would get to 150,000 this year. My target was 135 that I made back in January. How does this, I'm still chill. Okay. Cause I feel like, look, this is one of these temporary things that just doesn't change the narrative of digital currency and the adoption of digital currency and stable coins being rolled out and countries going to digital currency as an option. Okay. None of this, what's happening with China and the tariffs and Trump's rhetoric and his tweets and True Social and all that changes that narrative. It doesn't impact it at all. Okay. This is a knee-jerk reaction to a broader geopolitical fight over tariffs that's probably not going to happen. Okay. And then when it doesn't happen, you want to be positioned to capitalize on the market recovery. Because remember, we're down from 125,000. Okay. Bitcoin hit an all-time high 10, 11 days ago. And now we're back down to 105,000. Okay. So BNB, that's the old Binance coin. Okay. Solana, Cardano have declined over 10% this morning already. And they're pretty much accumulating for, I just read through them, but they're pretty much accumulating some of the larger losses in crypto. There's probably a lot of other shit coins out there that are way further down, but we don't really take a look at them. We don't concern ourselves with them. We really try to only focus on the legitimate major projects that we foresee. Futures open interest dropped over 5% in the last 24 hours. 5%. That's huge. Signaling a risk-off sentiment among traders. That's what this is all about. Okay. But we need to recognize that, and where's this money that's coming out of the market? The net outflows. Okay. Where's it going? And where's it going to be going? How long is it going to sit, right? You've got all these ETFs that are still sitting on inflows. They've got to, at some point, they've got to put that, okay? And when you've got a Bitcoin ETF, an Ethereum ETF, future down the line, more crypto strategic reserve, XRP ETF, okay? Solana ETFs, right? The more and more are rolled out. That money has got to go into those projects, right? And those digital currencies. It can't just sit. I mean, investors don't want that exposure where it's just sitting on the sidelines. So it has to be utilized, right? So that's why we always, one of the number one metrics we use is inflows and outflows. What's happening on the blockchain, right? Accumulation and bubbles. What's the accumulation resistance and support levels? We call accumulation bubbles, okay? Of where people bought over the last 12 months a significant amount of Bitcoin at what levels. We're about ready to approach one of those levels where a lot of people got into Bitcoin in that 90,000, 92 to 100,000 area. And we're about ready to approach that if this liquidation keeps going, okay? Total cryptocurrency markets dropped 3.5 trillion, okay? With a 3% loss as of right now, total crypto, 3% loss as of this morning. This is the fourth consecutive day of declines, confirming early recovery for this week, and predominantly what most people, if you want to pull some stuff from the technical side, a dead cat bounce, okay? That's meaning we had to sell down on Friday, Saturday. We got people recovery, a little short-term recovery, Monday, Tuesday, the Asian markets, and then we're back down again, okay? So that's your cat jumping off your sofa, okay? The dead cat bounce, all right? Over the last 24 hours, total liquidations have exceeded 1 billion, okay? Amid a market pullback signal and a massive wipeout of bullish aligned traders. Didn't wipe me out, okay? Didn't wipe you out, okay? If you were in that trade, that sell down trade yesterday, remember what was the trigger? The trigger to that trade was we tested 111,000 2 or 3 times. You can see it here on the chart, okay? And then we had that red stick, okay? It failed to break above those EMAs, okay? And so when you're looking at these right now, let's take a look at them, what we're looking at right now. Is it failed to break 111,300, okay? In that, and break that zone to break out, okay? So it failed to break out to 112,000. And then what you saw was a 4-hour decline from 111 down to 105, okay? That's where we were. Once it failed to test, okay, and its test of that resistance level, okay, and EMAs, okay, which at the time were right at 111, okay, get back above EMAs, 7-day, 10-day EMAs, okay, exponential moving averages, all right, and it failed. We knew. And so we knew once it fell down to 110 and fell below 110, there a battle ensued at 110, and that's when we entered our sell down trade. Now, we also could have, okay, as we talk about a lot in the community, is entered in what's called a straddle, okay? A straddle trade when you're on leverage is when you've got 2 open trades in the same crypto in opposite directions. So at 110, as that battle was going on, you had people in the market that were buying buy-ups at 110, okay, believing that 110 would provide support and Bitcoin would recover, okay? You also had people buying sell downs at 110. Those were the bears, people believing that it was going to break the 110,000. We were in that camp yesterday because all of the net outflow, the net flows were negative. Everything, the sentiment was negative. Everything was negative. There was no more money coming into the market yesterday, or really Wednesday into Thursday, to make us believe there was going to be this buying, this FOMO, okay? So that's when we went with the sell down. You could have gone with both, on that level, okay? And so that is a strategy that you can employ that works highly effectively, okay? And how that strategy works, it's very simple. You enter in a sell down trade at 110,000, for example. For example, let's do it right now. So like Bitcoin's trading at 105,000. It's kind of in free fall, okay? There's no, let me see if I can go back. Let's go. I'm going to go to the daily, okay? And we're going to see the last time Bitcoin was at 105,000. Was in July. Okay? Right in the beginning of July. July 2nd. Okay? July 2nd was the last time Bitcoin was at 105,000. So you've got, and it is got, and if it breaks 105,000, its next level is 100,000, which was on June 23rd. So that's why you're hearing a lot about that. On the screen, we got the 4 hour because that's what we're watching when we do our trades, okay? So June 23rd was 100,000, okay? And then the next one, support level beyond that, is 93. So that's what I said. A lot of the accumulation of Bitcoin was between 92,000 and 100,000. People got in on that ride, okay? Late, but they got in on it, all right? And that's what catapulted us over 100,000 and then on to 125,000, okay? Now those people likely are selling. They're panic selling, okay? And maybe they're selling in profit, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But now we're looking at a wick to 104,000, okay, on the daily, all right? So again, 108,000, we broke that. That was like a support level from August 31st, okay? And we broke through that, and that's why we collapsed back down to 105. And then so that 105,806, we are right on it right now. So that level of support of 105,000 was actually July 2nd. We are right on that level right now. Okay. So let's just take a step back. I know some of you guys are still in the sell down, okay, from yesterday. So you guys can sit tight. You guys are up 46, 47%. Okay. You know, you got to use your own judgment on the, remember, educational purposes. I'm not giving you financial advice. You got to make your own decisions with regard to that. You're sitting on a trade. You're already up over 40%. You can decide if you believe this market is going to continue to go down and test 100,000, sit on that open trade until, what did we say, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, till Monday. Remember, 5 days on 5-bit. Open trade, 5 days. After 5 days, it'll automatically get liquidated if you don't sell it yourself, okay? Regardless of price, okay? So you get 5 days, all right? So you're at 105,000. You got a call to make. Okay, if you're out of the market right now, all right, okay, negative sentiment still exists. Net inflows are still in the negative, okay? This is Liquidation Friday. Everything is negative. Unless there's some kind of event, a tweet, that changes this dynamic on Friday. Remember, that's what happened last Friday, okay? So unless there's some kind of tweet or geopolitical event that's going to make the market move opposite, we're going to test 100,000 this weekend, okay? I don't know when. Because there's no positive sentiment here to create a rally and support. Everything is negative. We are in FUD. Turn on TV. Turn on the evil empire of Bloomberg, okay? Everything is FUD. Everything's Trump's fault, okay? Market's tanking because of Trump's poor tariff policy, okay? Whatever you believe about the political spectrum, wherever you fall, at the end of the day, those people are what drive behavior, okay? So what do? You're sitting at that 105,000 right now. We're right on that, 105,700, which is just below that July 2nd, 105,000 support. So we haven't been at 105 since July. And then if 105 breaks, we're going to 100. So what you can do is you can enter your straddle trade of buying, and you can change. The beauty of this strategy is if you're leaning towards a decline and further liquidations, you can go 10x on your sell down, okay? Which is going to give you one level of liquidation in terms of your liquidation level, okay? You know, a 10x in the 70s, okay? It's not going to be an issue, all right, in my opinion. Again, not giving you financial advice. Okay, in terms of the next 5 days, I don't believe we're going to see Bitcoin at 72,000, okay? But that's just my opinion. One schmuck on YouTube, okay? Just my opinion. And then you could do a buy up at 105,800 at 5x, which actually gives you even more protection because a 5x liquidation level is going to be 35,000 or whatever lower than the current price, okay? So again, if you go 1x, you're going to be way down, like below 4, like in the 45,000 Bitcoin. It's not going to go back, go to below 50, right? Like, I mean, just saying like something would major catastrophic would have to happen. So you can manipulate those leverages, okay? So if you're me, my own personal thing is I'm watching this and it's going to go down, okay? We're going to fall below 105,000 sometime this morning, probably before lunch, okay? Or at least we're going to test 105, okay? And that's when I'm going to sit and be like, okay, here's my play, okay? 105 is going to break. We're going to test 100. We do the same thing we did yesterday. And again, yesterday, everyone's at 46, 47, 46.35%, okay? If you got in with the community, okay? So, and again, the further this thing goes down, closer to 105, the more that number's going up from your trade from yesterday that you entered into at 110, sell down, 10x. Now, I'm going to throw this out there because I know of two individuals in the community that entered in a 110 sell down at 25x, okay? So their liquidation level, all right, was a lot narrower, above 110. What that really means is if you buy that sell down at 110, like we did, say Bitcoin gets to 114, 115, okay? That means that either you are going to add to buy it down or you're going to get liquidated. Your liquidation level is going to be above. When you are buying a buy up, your liquidation level is going to be below it, okay? So if the market turns on you and goes south like it's doing today, when you hear about the liquidations are not people getting out of the market because they are risk averse, okay? The liquidations are people, futures contracts, leverage traders, large block institutions that are making bullish, okay? They've got open positions for Bitcoin to be at 116, 118, 120, 122. If you look at all of them and you follow those, just like you follow the net flows, you can see where the institutions are putting their money, okay? And what they're paying for Bitcoin. It's on the blockchain. So you can see what people, where and how much money came into Bitcoin at what point, okay? And so then you can get an idea of how much money there is out there to lose, okay? And that's what's getting liquidated. All of the long positions as Bitcoin comes down from 112 to 110 to 108 to 105, people are getting liquidated, okay, in those open trades. The same way you would get liquidated if yesterday you had said, I'm not buying this guy on YouTube. I'm not buying this guy. I think Bitcoin's going to freaking bounce back. And he bought a 110 buy up, and then he'd be down 40-some percent, okay? While you're up 47% because you call the right direction. It's directional trading. You're trading directional behavior on sentiment and net flows, okay? The metrics. Remember, when you're looking at this stuff, there's no fundamentals, okay? There's no earnings per share. There's no shareholder meetings, okay? There's no CEO, okay, getting up and talking to the press. No one's going on Bloomberg or CNBC. Who's the face of Bitcoin, right? Nobody, right? Sole purpose, okay? Right? And so it's not the same as your stock investments in your 401k that are driven by fundamentals, okay? Crypto is entirely driven by emotion and behavior, okay? Speculation and risk, okay? And so you just have to come with that mindset, okay? So we're at 105. Look, we're going to, here it comes. Here it comes. You watching that? Let me flip back here to the 4 hour. We are approaching 105. We just tapped 105. Okay, so we're right on that 105 level. All right. And so 105, you look at that. We're going to do 105. If you believe 105 is going to bounce, if it's going to bounce off 105, you would use your sell up on 5-bit right there. You would determine your leverage, 5x or 10x, okay? In this market, you do not want to be, unless you see something that's like basically just a liquidation event where you're seeing it, Bitcoin just freaking FUD. That's the only real time you need to be going above these levels, guys, when you want to go. I mean, the experienced guys in the community are obviously trading a lot of 25 because they've been doing it now for 3-4 years, okay? But when you're talking about 50, 75, and 100x, you want to make sure that you are in. Those are FOMO trades, okay? Because obviously the liquidation level is so close, okay? That is scalping, okay? That is more like your day trader scalper when you're looking at that, okay? And so we would do a 105. Let's see, we're at 105.075. Okay, buy up at 10x. Okay. Okay, and that's how you look at it, like from, okay, you feel like, okay, we're now at 9:50 going on 10 a.m. Okay. Got a little bounce, and then we're going to go to 105. Let's see where we're at. We're right now at 105.250. Okay, so we're bouncing up on that. So that trade's already in the money. Okay. And so now we're going to go 105. Okay, we're at 105.400. See, we got some buying coming in. Okay. Now, this is where you can protect yourself again on the other side as this moves higher. Okay. Support is holding at 105. Okay. And you're in the right direction. But if the market swifts on you, okay, the same way we saw that dead cat bounce, right? If the market switches, we get whatever, and immediately when that market switches, okay, in terms of you can go down to a 15-minute, okay, time frame on your chart, and as soon as you see that sentiment, right now we've got, a lot of, some buying, okay? We're at now 105.500. So we're about $500 up from the 105 10x entry, okay? So we've got some people buying. But if it goes back the other way, you then can pop right back in at 105, 105.500, 105.600 when it happens and do a 10x or a 5x sell down, okay? And you can have both trades open. So you didn't you straddle the market in Bitcoin, and you can do this in Ethereum and Solana and Cardano, and you do this in all the cryptos. You're not straddled at the same price point, but you're straddled in that zone, okay? And so you got to remember, if you're buy up, if you executed that buy up trade at 105, we were at, let me look at it again, pull it back up, 105.079, okay? So we got in at started to bounce off 105. So 105.079, okay? You're going to watch that level, all right? And then as it moves higher, then you're going to make your decision as to what. Now, remember, what zone are we trading in right now? Remember yesterday, 111 was that resistance level. She failed. She fell back to 110. They fought it out, okay, all morning long. And then 110 broke. And then we knew that that level was 110 to 108. 108 was the next rung on the ladder of support. And ultimately it broke that and it fell to the next rung on the ladder of support, which was 105. Okay. And that's where we are right now. Right now we're at 105,700. So we're about $650 up in the trade already in terms of the value of Bitcoin. At 10x, that's just above, or actually right at fees. So you're right at 3%, 3.5%. Okay. So you need, obviously the lower your leverage, the less you have in the trade. Okay. And so the movement of your P&L, okay, your profit is longer. Like it takes longer for you to get to that 10, 15% in a 5x trade than it would if you had more money into the trade and you were trading at 10x or 25x. Okay. So you want to pay particular, but at the end of the day, you're up 700 right now. We're at 758. So we're up 700 to the good because we're at 105, 780. And the entry point was 105,079. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right, let's get back into what's driving this thing. We're going to pay attention to that. We got it on the screen. You can see that 105, 670. It's coming back a little bit. It's kind of crazy. There's a little delay. It's a little delay sometimes on the stream. So, your screen is saying 750, 105, 747, and my real screen is saying 105, 900. Okay. So we'll watch this number here. Watch it go from 700 to 900. And that can happen sometimes if you're following on a lot on the stream in terms of what's happening with YouTube and stuff, but keep an eye on that. Because we're going to hit 106. All right. And that would be almost 1,000. Okay. Now we bounced off of 105. That's your behavior. Okay. So you tested 105 today. Okay. And now she's bounced off it. And you put a trade up on that 105 support level. Okay. However you entered it, 1x, 5x, or 10x. Okay. And so now you get to make the decision. Okay, I'm up in this trade. I'm above my fees. I'm going to make money in this trade. Okay. And again, this is like not financial advice. Okay. So this is your trade. Okay. What you feel comfortable with. So you could exit the trade at 106 and walk away with 2% or 3%. Okay. After you pay your fees, right? I mean, you know what I mean? You get to determine that, and then you take that money and you can put it into the next trade. Or you can sit and wait because now we've got a little bit of green coming on the new 4-hour stick. Okay, so maybe we're going to start to see some accumulation. Okay, like I said before, you check out your screen. We're now at 105,900. It is going to go to 106,100. Okay, we're going to see 106,100. Okay. So 105,985. Okay, it's going to go up another. Here we go. It's going to get to 106,100, and then it's basically most likely going to hit a little bit of selling pressure. Okay, because it just moved $1,000 in less than 5 minutes. Okay, and then you got to sit and wait. You got to make that call. Like, okay. Boom. Now I'll play it down. So you could sell your 105,079, buy up, get out of it at 106,100. Okay. Capture the gain, comes back, buy a sell down if you think it's going to go back down and try and retest 105 again. This is what guys are sitting at desks doing all day long. Okay. At institutions. These are the trades that they're making all day long, okay? These nominal trades, okay, of moves in Bitcoin and Ethereum for the most part. I mean, there are some now with Solana and XRP, but it's predominantly Bitcoin and then Ethereum. All right, 975. We're gonna hit 106. Coming up right now. There you go, 106. Okay, we're gonna go to 106, 100, and then you can make the determination whether or not you want to get out, and you're welcome. Okay, that's how it works. All right. You can take that trade. You can take that 5.3%. If you're a longer leverage, higher leverage, minus your fees. There you go. It's more than the bank's going to pay you. Okay. I tell people that's how I look at it. Look at it like that. You look at it like what kind of rate of return. There you go. 106, 144, 148, 161. Okay. Will we get to 200? Probably not. Okay. Probably going to get some selling coming in here. But look at that RSI level, guys. Where are we at with the RSI? I hadn't even talked about that this morning. We are at 31.56 on the 4-hour. When do we start to accumulate Bitcoin? Remember, you're not accumulating Bitcoin on 5-bit, okay? You're trading your Bitcoin on 5-bit. Bitcoin in, and then you trade it, okay, on the 5-bit exchange, all right? Okay, you use your money from Bitcoin, USDT to Bitcoin, and trade it, okay? So you're not right now. So now you've got to do what? You've got to get out of here. Okay, now it's falling back down. So we didn't get to 106, 200. So if you get out of that trade, you then want to watch that RSI level. And if that RSI level falls below 30 today, you want to put a couple $100 into Bitcoin. Okay, remember, buy Bitcoin when it's under 30 RSI on the 4-hour. Okay, now what's the daily? We're at 30 right now. Okay, we're going to fall to 30. Okay. And now she's at 105, 106. So 106. All right. And so you can go 106. Sell down 106. 10x. Okay. So at 106.05. Let me get it in here. 106, buy, order down, boom. Okay. So there you go. All right. We had a little bit of pop. We had about a $1,200 run off the 105,000. We got up to 106, just under 106,200. We're now at 106.47. Okay. It's going back up a little bit. Okay. But we've got to sell down at 106. So right now we're out of the money. Okay. It's running back up. Okay. It's probably going to try and test that 102 level again. So you could easily now, if you have a 106 sell down, you could add more to that trade at 106.200, and it would raise your level to 106.100. Okay. So it would add an extra $100 into it as your strike price. Okay. But we're good. It's going to come back down. There we go. All right. It's falling. See it falling? 105, 105.8, 105.7. All right, so now you're in the money, okay? Because you're sell down 106, okay? And you're still in the money if you didn't sell your 105 buy up, you're still in the money, $755 in terms of the valuation of Bitcoin at the moment. So you're still in the money. You're still in the green in that trade if you didn't get out of it, okay? And so you're going to play this seesaw battle now because this is the battle. The battle was 105 and 106. What was the battle yesterday? 110 and 111, okay? But again, if you got out of that trade at 106, 100-ish, again, we're at 29.27 is our RSI. So then you're going to grab your phone or on your computer, however you got it set up. You know, I've got mobile, so I'm going to go right to Coinbase. Go right to Coinbase. Okay. Buy, sell. You can see Coinbase. You can see what the level is right there. Everything's on there. Bitcoin. I'm going to go buy, sell. Okay. It's currently at 29.33. Okay. Let's just take a look at this, what we got going on here. So Bitcoin Coinbase has Bitcoin at 105,736 and 5-bit has it at 105,694. Okay. So there's always that little bit of difference. If you go on Coinbase, they'll, if you go on Bybit, they'll show you 5 exchanges, and there's always some variation between them. Okay. But we're still at 29. So we're at 29. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy, and I'm just going to drop $100 into Bitcoin. Okay. Very simple. Boom. Done. Why did I do that? Okay. I did that because we fell below 30. Okay. And as long as we're below 30, okay, I can anticipate what the trade value is going to be, what the return is going to be. If you do this for a while, you're going to know. Especially what I recommend to folks is to use your same. So, use $250, use $100, use $50, use $25, whatever you want. Remember, you can start here on Bybit with 5 USDT. Okay, and basically, okay, I'm up 8%. I know that's $60. Okay, to the good, and then you could take that $60 and throw it into Bitcoin or throw it into Ethereum. Okay. All right. So now we're rising back up again. All right. But we got it. We basically sniped. Okay. We basically sniped some Bitcoin below the 30 level RSI. Okay. And we know from looking at our graphs, Bitcoin doesn't stay below 30 RSI for very long. Okay. So it ends up rising back up, taking the valuation back up. So you just want to, keep that in mind. Okay. Ethereum down 5.59%. So we've come back 3%. Same with Bitcoin. Ethereum's RSI is at a 37. Okay. So that's still a little high. Okay. So won't take anything and move it into the Ethereum. Okay. Until it falls below 30. Remember, it was at 17 on Friday. RSI 17 on the 4-hour. RSI is relative strength, okay? So it was a 17 on Friday when we moved. A lot of people in the community moved a significant amount of money into Ethereum, okay? And now it's at 37. So just like the price, if it was at 17 on Friday and now it's at 37, you know instinctively that the price is going up, Remember, it bottomed out on Friday during the flash crash at 3,400-ish, and now it's trading at 3,783. Okay, so it's up $350. All right, and there you go. So that $350 some moved the needle from 17 RSI on the 4-hour to 37. Okay, so that's another way you can look at it. There are people in the community that simply trade on the RSI. That's it. They don't do any of the other technical nonsense. They just simply use the RSI. No MACD. They don't do any of that stuff, okay? Because it's very simple and it's easy to understand, okay? It's not a day. It doesn't always equate to being a quick trade, okay? A scalp. It's not what happens. But you got in, you entered that, and you have 5 days, okay, for the market to come back around to its senses, right? Where's Bitcoin going to be 5 days from now? I believe it's going to be higher, okay? But today, it's going to be lower, all right? And so remember, your trading behavior. What's the sentiment today? What's the net inflows today, okay? Let's follow this up. What else we got going? We talked about the dead cat bounce, sorry. Bitcoin obviously is trading below this morning, right at 105,000 to 106,000, which definitely is a catalyst for the broader market in crypto to obviously take losses. We covered those losses. If you follow Binance BNB, it's basically testing its 50-day moving average, which is around 146. Could test 1,000 if you're trading that. We don't really trade that much, especially in markets like today. But if we get real bullish sentiment coming in here at the end of the year, Binance will probably perform well. Solana pressures at 175 support zone. It's 180 now, so it's come back. Okay, it tested 175 on the last stick. Okay, so it's already tested that support zone, and that support zone is from October 11th. Okay, over the weekends. That was Saturday. All right, short-term support for Solana. Its 200-day EMA, that's exponential moving average, is 186. So it's still under its 200-day moving average currently. If Solana drops to 175, that's the same trade, okay, that we're talking about with Bitcoin here, like we did yesterday at 110, we did today at 105. It's the same trade, same setup, okay? If it reaches 175, it's either going to 175 is either going to be supported or it's going to dump, okay? And if it dumps, then you're looking at, let's pull it up. So you're looking at what's that trade really going to look like if 175 doesn't hold. When was the last time we were below 175? You're going way, way back. Okay, you're going back to, oh geez. You're going back to August 12th. Okay, so if Solana tests at 175, you can do the same thing, buy up or sell down. If you think it's going to provide support, then you want to do a buy up on it. If you think it's going to, if it's going to break and if it's going to fall, if it hits 175, you know, you're looking at some serious bleeding, okay, in Solana. And that would be an opportunity, guys, to accumulate Solana long term in your bag, okay? Because that's a great, great project, okay? And so you're looking at a 25, potentially a 25 or 30 point move, okay? Because if it breaks 175, it's going to drop to 155, okay? So 20 to 25, maybe, you know, okay? And so just keep that in mind. So you want to already have that mapped out in your head, okay? Like, okay, for opportunistic trades with your strategic crypto reserve 5, okay? Cardano tested 60, okay? It's not, the volume hasn't really been there with Cardano, really. But it could free fall all the way to 51, 52 cents. Last time it was at that level, I think the last time it was at 52, 51 was in June. And so that's a significant, take a look at it on the chart. That's a significant move. And you just haven't had a lot of interest in accumulation in Cardano. That's probably the least of the strategic reserve cryptos. It's currently trading at 61, okay? And if that doesn't hold, she's going to drop. Yeah, she's going to drop to 55, easily drop to 55 cents and maybe 52 cents. And you kind of see where we're at. 105, we're back down to 105. So you got, you know, if you entered in that sell down at 106, okay, 106, 100, right? Then you're now $900. You just reversed the trade. What I mean by that is, what I try to tell folks is, look, man, for every reason why you would exit the trade, that's a buying opportunity. What do I mean by that? Well, if you traded Bitcoin at 110 yesterday with us and it went down to 103, 800, okay, like it did, all right? And say you sold at 104, okay? So you $6,000, okay? It fell $6,000, you profited, okay? The reason why you sold Bitcoin at 104 in terms of the strike, okay, is the very reason why you should buy it, right? You reverse your trade. So you're always in the market, okay? So it's like, otherwise you should have just held on to it. You got 5 days, or at this point, 4 days. You have 4 more days, right? Okay, so like if you're going to get out of it, you're getting out of it because you think it's not going to go down any further. And if you think it's not going to go down any further, then obviously it's going to go higher, okay? So you want to exit at 104, take your profits, re-enter a buy up at 104, and had you done that, you would have now been up $2,000 here within the last hour, and you probably would have been up 6 or 7% in that trade at low leverage. And you just keep repeating that cycle. That's how you're going to build your HODL portfolio for the long term. Because remember, the whole point of this is to help you accumulate Bitcoin and Ethereum long. Now you can obviously Solana. I'm probably looking at Solana today. Okay. If it falls down, because I just know future, I believe Solana's going to 300 and 350. Okay. So okay. You just want to use those as opportunities. Again, not financial advice. Okay. Just my own personal opinion. Okay. But the whole point of this is to be able to help you grow your HODL bag, and you let the exchange pay for your future. Meaning, you made that successful trade from $110,000 yesterday. You woke up this morning, Bitcoin's at 104. Okay. You exit, you profited that money. What do you do with that money? You take that money and you buy Bitcoin long, or you buy Ethereum long, or XRP, or Solana, and maybe Cardano. Okay. Like whatever, or spread it around between all of them, or just buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. Okay. And that's how you're going to, and just repeat that. And then before long, you're starting to accumulate chunks, small little chunks of crypto, to where over the course of a year, like it's happened in our community, people end up with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Ethereum. Okay. And so if Ethereum today is $4,000, okay. Let me look at it right now. Okay, Ethereum is $3,700. Okay, so if you got 10 of those things, if you accumulated 10 of those things with the community trading over the last year, you've got 10 Ethereum now, and Ethereum goes to 7,000. You're sitting on $70,000, right? Of value in Ethereum, all from the exchange, because you put 150 in it here, 250 in it here. You got about a $500 trade. You had any number, okay? And all this stuff starts out small for sure. But I can tell you how many people started out small with $25 trades, okay? That they made returns of, and profit, then up their trades to 50, then up their trades to 150, then up their trades to 250, then up their trades to 500. So that's, instead of putting $25 into that trade at 105, they put 500 into it and then did 10x. So now they got $5,000 worth of movement of price action built into that trade. Okay. And so their return, this is how you grow, slow and steady. Okay. Within your comfort zone. Okay. Not financial advice. Okay. Just for educational purposes, in terms of learning how to create a system in place for you to trade and have a plan. Okay. You want to have a plan. Man, my coffee is good this morning. All right, let's get back to what we got in the news here. Wrap it up, because I'm going to stay on for just an hour, and then I'll get over into the other community. CoinGlass data shows that the total liquidations account for $1.2 billion in the last 24 hours, with long liquidations of $943.75 million outpacing short liquidations. Okay. So most of the market was long in Bitcoin, again, just like last Friday, and it's getting squeezed out. Okay. They're getting shorted out. Okay. They're getting liquidated. Now, short liquidations, 260 million, which means they probably had Bitcoin yesterday into today lower. Okay. And Bitcoin went higher. We know that. They had it lower after Friday. Okay. So they bought in at probably 105 or 106,000, right? Okay. And they were sell down in their short positions. And we saw the bounce on Monday that went back to 111, 112. Okay. They got squeezed out. Okay. That's what that means. Liquidation surge cracks traders' confidence and market stability. Trade that. Okay. Your trading behavior, guys. Okay. It's here every day. The market sentiment changes every day. Okay. So it's here every day. All right. Spiraling increased capital outflows. Broader crypto market open interest, that's EOI, stands at 151 billion, recording a 5.3% decline in the last 24 hours. A decline in OI refers to a decrease in the notional value of outstanding futures contracts. So the sentiment is negative, okay? The outlook short term is negative. That's why everybody's pulling their freaking crypto out, pulling their money out of the stock market, okay? All right, 105, 473. We're still right smack dab in the middle of that zone, guys. Okay? That's where the trade is. That's where the fight is. You want to be in the fight, okay? You want to be in the fight because those guys with the big money, okay, they're fighting it out, and you can capitalize on that fight, okay? For sure. Let me try and find. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. XRP obviously is down today like everything else, but Ripple Labs plans to raise $1 billion to accumulate XRP. Okay, so what's the behavioral outcome of that? Meaning, just like the ETFs, they got $1 billion. They now need to accumulate XRP. If someone's accumulating XRP, XRP is going higher. More people are accumulating XRP, the price is going higher. So it's a buying opportunity on any of these sell-offs for XRP. Ripple Labs leading the effort to raise $1 billion to accumulate XRP. Money will be raised through a special purchase acquisition company known as SPAC. The planned new digital asset treasury, you're hearing that a lot this year, digital asset treasuries, especially for like Ethereum, comes to the market, remains fragile this week. Ripple Labs reportedly seeking to raise at least $1 billion through special purpose to expand its XRP holdings and strengthen its digital asset treasury. It's going to be backing XRP. The initiative comes at a time when the broader crypto market sentiment remains cautious. All right. Ripple announced on Thursday the acquisition of risk management software company G Treasury for $1 billion, and it plans to expand its payment solution to the corporate finance and cash management market. That's what XRP is all about, guys, is that banking integration using blockchain-based settlement, okay, for traditional treasury operations, for companies. That's going to be huge. That's why XRP is in this basket that we're talking about, okay, as opposed to some random shit coin out there that nobody knows about. All right. Let's see what other news we got rolling in this morning. We talked about that. Let's talk a little bit more about this $105,000 level that we're talking about. We're in it right now. I know quite a few of you guys. I'm going to check the chat. I know quite a few of you guys are in this trade as well. 105, 500, right smack dab in the middle. So if you're in at 105 up, you're a $500 up. If you're in at 106 down, you're $500 up. In terms of the value of what we're looking at on the exchange, not in terms of your P&L, but you're still in the money, okay? And that's what we want to concern ourselves with. Bitcoin drips. U.S.-China trade tensions and ongoing U.S. government shutdown weigh in, of course. We know that. Bitcoin has corrected 9% this week, 9% over the course of really since Friday, over the course of the week. It's a buying opportunity, guys. So again, not financial advice, but when you're making these winning trades like we did yesterday, it's a massive win for quite a few people. With that $6,000 to $7,000 decline in below the strike, being able to accumulate Bitcoin at a cheaper price, can't go wrong with that. We got the government still shuts down, which began on April 1st. We're now on like really day 16, day 17. And the really big story of this too is the uncertainty. Understand that this uncertainty is going to go away. And this is where we're going to get the market exuberance again, is because the government is shut down. So you don't have any data releases. You don't have the people in the office or right down the street, okay, in DC, okay, doing the data, okay, for the economic releases for the government, Department of Labor. statistics, okay? We don't have that because everybody's on furlough, okay? Everybody's out walking their dog. I can see them walking right by my house, okay? Everybody's out walking their dogs, going to the park, going to get coffee, like not working, okay? This is a huge federal government, okay, bastion, okay, of probably 40% more of the people work in some capacity for the federal government, okay? And so you're not going to have that data. This is what's going to happen here. This is going to be the struggle behind the scenes here in this town, okay? Is going to be, we've got an FOMC meeting on October 28th or 29th. We've got to call some of these people back to get us the economic data that we can use to do our report at the meeting and then make the call. Like we all pretty much assume that a rate cut is baked in, okay? A second rate cut, all right? We all pretty much assume that, all right? But what's this? Without the data, we're in this level of uncertainty, and this is where you want to trade this behavior, okay? Continue to trade all the next week or two because you're trading in that behavior of uncertainty, okay? And so it's just that is what your interest level should be, is paying close attention, because when this data comes and when that rate, okay, while that rate cut was already baked into the stock market before because everyone was anticipating it, now the stock market's down, okay? Crypto is down. So when that rate does come, it flips. It will add a lot of positive, to the sentiment, okay? And then you're going to see crypto, and you're going to see the tech stocks and the Mag 7 and all that go back higher. The AI stocks are going to go back higher. They're going to lead the way, okay? Now, the other side of it is for crypto, how does the furlough and shutdown impact crypto is in my area, is it impacts the ETF applications, okay? It impacts the government approval. It impacts the crypto policy that people are working on, okay, in this town, which is a total different type of policy than what the Biden administration had, okay? All that stopped because all these people are on furlough, okay? They're not essential, okay? And so you've got to relay on that. You're going to find a lot of ETFs being postponed. So you're probably not going to have them roll back out in terms of approval that were expected to launch either, in October, maybe November. They may not launch now to Q1 of next year if this continues to go into November. They're going to miss that window, okay? Because there's no oversight, and, which, to be honest, may not be a bad thing for some of these ETFs, because the sentiment is low right now. So if you came out the gate right now, you'd be like the horse at the Derby, in the mud. Like, you know what I mean? Because there isn't really the market exuberance for the ETF, right? In terms of inflows, people are going to throw a whole bunch of money at you. So the Bitcoin institutional demand weakened again all week long, according to So Value. So Value, you can check that out, So Value data. Bitcoin spot ETFs recorded a total of 864 million outflows. 864 million outflows as of Thursday, breaking the 2-week streak of inflows since early October. Okay, so yesterday we saw a crazy amount of outflows, okay? Because, again, this is the sign of basically a liquidity flush, okay, of liquidations, okay? Those typically are good things, okay? I know it. People feel the pain, especially if you didn't, have a plan. But when these liquidity flushes happen, it actually resets the market, and then we can springboard. Crypto has done that. Bitcoin did that at 8, 17, 18, 19,000. Bitcoin did that at 32,000. Bitcoin did that at 58,000. Bitcoin did that at 72,000. Bitcoin did that at 92,000, okay? Even after coming way down, 10, 15, 30% declines, it came right back, okay? Doesn't happen overnight, okay? But ultimately, you want to be in the game for a bit, okay? Perpetual contracts are trading at a record 5.1% discount to spot by October 10th, the widest deviation since March of 2020. Okay? That's your institutional side. That's why there's stuff happening on the institutional side, okay? So you're looking at peak fear and, okay? Has fear peaked yet? Okay? Probably not. That's why we're probably going to test 100,000. Okay? All right, we're up over an hour. Hope everybody enjoyed this. Hope everybody got a little bit out of this. Today, again, in the trade, another trade today. I always try to do one trade. You know, again, not financial advice. You guys know that. But I always like to look at one trade, give people a trade a day kind of options. And, you know, yesterday was a great trade. Today's been a good trade. Okay. Remember, very simple. Don't complicate it. Use your RSI. Okay. Speaking of which, let's do it before we sign off here. Let's look at that RSI level. Bitcoin's RSI level 2839. Okay. And so we're under that 30. So today, you want to throw a little bit of Bitcoin in your child's college savings plan? That's the time to do it, is when Bitcoin is under an RSI level of 30 on the 4 hour is when I like to do it. Let's take a look at the daily. And the daily is right there. The daily is right there at 33. Okay, so we're just right above it. Want to use the daily? Sit back and wait, see what happens today, tomorrow, maybe over the weekend. Take a second look, have a cup of coffee, you know, check out the news, see what's happening, look at it, look at the daily after today finalizes. Maybe it's right at 30, and go ahead and throw some money into your that savings account for your child for college at that low level RSI, and let it sit. That's all you got to do. All right, guys, let me put this right back up. You can check this out again. I will throw this up there. Maybe not. Guess I can't. Technology. It's great. All right, guys. Appreciate it. I will see you next time.